So we have to talk about what I consider one of the more egregious mistakes that I think LEGO ever made when it comes to Bionicle. And what's fascinating about it is that it actually involves two of the most iconic masks from the series' entire run. All the way back in 2003, LEGO introduced us to this mask right here, this mask right here, the Kanohi Kurkan and the Kanohi Evoki, two masks that would honestly kind of transcend this year and set the stakes for this greater overarching story that we were going to be introduced to. By the way, if you enjoy this content, be sure you subscribe. It helps the channel out tremendously. And of course, let's go ahead and get into this, because I wanted to focus specifically on this mask first, and also this mask, because these two masks were not created equal. They're not the same. And I'm not being a smartass here and saying, well, this mask has 4 holes and this mask has 6. No, it's not about that. Did you know, fun fact, this mask right here isn't the same color as this mask either. It is in fact a recolor. But why? This is a black mask. This is a black mask. So how is it a recolor? Well, in 2003, LEGO introduced us to a brand new little family, little subset of colors with the introduction of the Rockshi sets. Each of the Rockshi contained 4 pieces, 3 of those being unique in this brand new set of colors that was used basically nowhere else, anywhere in Bionicle. But one exception to that, outside of the Rockshi, was this Kanohi Kurkan, which appeared on the Makuta set in 2003 and was in a near exclusive color. It's the only piece to show up in that set in this color, which is what I'm just going to, for the sake of this video, call Rockshi Black. It is a black with a sort of subtle iridescent sheen to it, as all of the Rockshi have to some varying degree. It is a lovely color, honestly, as is all the colors from the Rockshi sets. They're criminally underused. That said, though, 2008 would introduce us to another flagship character, the big bad for that year, Icarax, containing this mask in it as well. But it's far worse in its use there for a number of reasons. For one thing, it's black. Now, again, it is a different shade of black, but if you're going to go out of your way to recolor this mask, why not go all out? This is not the character that originally appeared with this mask, so maybe the mask had been unpowered at some point in time and repowered for this Icarax character in his color scheme. Something we'd seen happen in the Bionicle storyline elsewhere, or maybe it's unpowered entirely, maybe it's being corrupted, etc. So you could have seen versions of this mask that ultimately LEGO could have given story reason for, that could have been dark red, or maybe dark red marbled with black, maybe gunmetal or dark gray, pearl silver. All of these would have made sense to some varying degree for this point in the storyline. But of course, that's not what we got. We got the mask in black, and I get it. It's the iconic color for this mask. But if LEGO was willing to go out of their way to recolor this mask in 2 shades of gold for one playset, which granted, I understand why it's in 2 shades in the first place, why not recolor it for this set too? This is ultimately the big bad of this year. It's also kind of a disappointing set, I'm not gonna lie. Icarax is not my favorite set for several reasons. One thing, pairing this mask right here with the Metru head, a head that it was not designed to really fit in with, and so didn't really take advantage of the fact that this mask is actually 2 masks in one, that you can rotate it around. A fantastic gimmick that should have been used more often in Bionicle, let's be honest. But the set also sort of suffers from an Umbra problem in the fact that the set itself includes no new pieces outside of this mask. And ultimately, with this mask being such a subtle recolor, it's hardly even worth mentioning, which makes it sad, because it makes you think 2007 was such a strong year for Titans. And while 2008 definitely gave us those glorious vehicles, Icarax really suffered. Having no new recolors is not necessarily a nail in the coffin, so to speak, right? There are plenty of sets that I think LEGO has made in the past that are very limited in recolored parts, but still come out looking exceptional, and Icarax could have absolutely done this. In fact, with very few changes, but this video is not about Icarax. Maybe that'll be something in the future. However, at the start of this video, I talked about 2 masks in particular, the Kurkan and the Kanohi Evoki. Well, if you are familiar with Makuta from 2003, you know that he also came with 2 of this mask, except he didn't come with 2 of this mask, because this right here is also a recolor. Pearl Silver. This mask was introduced for the Takanuva Star set all the way back in 2010, and is a recolor of this mask once again, but it's another one of these feats where it's like, why bother? Why give us this mask in a color that's so similar to a color that already appeared in the past? Classic Bionicle silver, flat silver, whatever you want to call it. Why not give it to us in Well, I think the color most people would have desired is this one right here, pearl gold. Now, this is just a resin cast, but it makes it's a good example of what I'm trying to get at here. Of course, it's not the only color that I think we would have accepted for this character. Previously, in 2008, we saw Takunuva as a Titan set with gunmetal in his color scheme, and it looked quite good on his character. Why not use gunmetal here again? It would have helped to justify the dark gray appearing in the character's set in this form, but of course, no, that's not what we got. We got the mask in silver. So it begs the question. They did give us a gold mask, and it makes sense, the mask they chose to be gold. This one right here. And under the circumstances I would have hoped for, this would be a fantastic choice. But under these circumstances right here, it's a bad choice. And the reason for that is because this mask was introduced all the way back in 2001 for one of, if not the most iconic characters from all of Bionicle, the poster child Tahu, the Kanohi How, and we got it again in 2010. But we didn't really. You see, this is problematic, in my opinion. This mask right here is small, is tiny, and it didn't need to be that way. None of the other Stars characters that use previous masks, or at least hint at the previous version of specific masks, use smaller forms of those, with maybe one exception, but Tahu makes the exception here outside of that. And it's wild to me because it is specifically designed so as not to be backwards compatible with the original Toa Mata head. Why is this the case? I don't actually know. I do understand why the mold itself was redesigned for the axle. The head that it connects to only accepts an axle connection. It does not have any sort of accessibility for the stud connection from classic masks. So I get it. Yes, technically you could have molded a brand new head for this piece. Totally right there with you. However, it doesn't mean that it had to be this small, which makes me think maybe they just did it because, well, the bigger mask looks weird on Tahu Stars. But does it? Are we not suffering from some kind of maybe familiarity bias? We see this mask on Tahu Stars. We want to make it backwards compatible. So we try this mask out and we think, well, this one looks too big. I don't agree with that, though. I think we've been a little bit tainted by what we have seen in the past because this Evoki doesn't look too big on Takunuva, and Takunuva in his Stars form is to scale with Tahu. So why does it look small on Tahu why does it look too big on Tahu when you use the old mask? It doesn't. But it does because, again, we're familiar with this version of the mask, and that's wild to me. So here's what I would have proposed instead. First off, as I mentioned with Icarax, give him a recolor of that mask. Any recolor I would appreciate. Of course, silver would have been a fantastic one because I do desire this mask in silver, and it does appear in some bootlegs in silver as well. Plus, there are ways you can get them in silver. I'll talk about that towards the very end of the video, and I've made videos covering that topic. But also, Tahu's mask, Takunuva's mask, and the other Stars characters. Why not? If this is the wave where gold is sort of the gimmick, right? These stars, the golden character, why not give all of them gold masks? There's no reason not to. Every single piece, every single gold piece specifically introduced for this wave was a recolor or a new mold or both, right? And so it wouldn't have been far-fetched to have seen the How, the Evoki, but also even masks like this one here, introduced for the Paraka Stars. Something like this in Pearl Gold, maybe on first glance doesn't make sense. Why would he have it? But then you remember it's kind of a nod to Ernak, right? All the way back in 2006, which does in fact have a gold Paraka spine. Some sets, yes, they don't make as much sense with a Pearl Gold piece. This one here, Gresh never shows up in the story with a Pearl Gold helmet, so why would you include one? But why not? It's going out with a bang at the end of the day. You could have a story reason for why these characters have golden masks or helmets or whatever. You could even still include those extra accessories for the characters if you want to, because of course I'm greedy and I do want that Gala Cal shield in Pearl Gold. I do want those armor pieces of Pearl Gold, of course. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I do find it quite fascinating that we had these as options and we did not get them. Skrull's helmet appears in 3 sets, and yet in all 3 sets it is black with no other recolors, no exceptions to that. Why not give it to us in gold and hint at maybe an ultimate Skrull that's extra powerful or something, and so it has this gold helmet to signify that? Why not have a Rakshi with a gold spine? In the story, gold Rakshi have shown up, although granted, I guess that's up to interpretation a little bit. Are they gold? Are they yellow? Are they Rakshi of heat vision? Whatever. And you could still keep the yellow color from that Rakshi set, which, side tangent, why does the Rakshi set have those fragile clawed feet instead of the Star's foot? It already works well as a Rakshi foot stand-in. I don't get it. LEGO makes bad choices, but anyway, I digress. All that said, the Krakan, the Evoki, 2 recolors at the end of Bionicle's life, and the recolors are subtle. The recolors are not desirable. It's not to say you don't want these masks. The Evoki does look great in Pearl Light Gray, of course, and it is noticeably different from the silver introduced in 2003. So, like, I get it. I'm not going to complain that much about it, but I'm going to complain more than if we had the chance to have seen the mask in Pearl Gold, in Gunmetal, in some other color I didn't even think of. Maybe just solid white. That would have been cool, too, but it's not what we got. We live in the reality we live in where LEGO sometimes just makes bad choices, and I think they did here. So that's it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, again, be sure you're subscribed. It helps the channel out tremendously. The channel has been growing once again. We actually passed 3,600, and remember, I took a bit of a hiatus for like 3 months this year dealing with my own medical problems, my mom's medical problems, and etc. So the fact that you guys are coming back after YouTube punishes me harshly for that hiatus, I really have to say thank you so much for that. But of course, if you want to help support the channel, you can check out the link in the description for Patreon. And there's actually going to be a video coming out early there later on this week. So I will see you all in the next one. Take care.